Without confidence, life becomes like a boat floating with the current. Moving, yes, but never truly choosing its direction. Ethan Gray was 24, standing on the edge of adulthood, but feeling as if life had already outpaced him. He had just graduated with a business degree, yet every job interview left him frozen. His voice would tremble, his thoughts scattered. His friends were moving forward. Promotions, apartments, relationships. Ethan, meanwhile, sat in his tiny studio apartment in Chicago, scrolling through job listings, whispering to himself, maybe I'm just not good enough. It wasn't that he lacked intelligence, it was that he didn't trust his own voice. Every rejection felt like proof that the world had been right about him all along. Quiet, uncertain, invisible. One morning, Ethan received a call from a mid-sized marketing firm downtown. They'd seen his portfolio and wanted to meet. For days, he rehearsed answers, memorized scripts, and watched confidence tutorials. But when he entered the glass-walled office, the sight of sharply dressed executives shattered all his preparation. During the interview, his throat tightened. He stumbled over his words. The hiring manager smiled politely, but Ethan could see it. The flicker of pity in her eyes. "Thank you for your time," she said gently. As he left, the words echoed in his mind. "Thank you for your time." Polite rejection wrapped in kindness. Outside, he stood in the cold, staring at his reflection in the window of a coffee shop. His tie was crooked, his expression hollow. He whispered, "Why can't I just be like everyone else?" Days became weeks. Weeks turned into quiet months. Ethan took a temporary delivery job, hiding from the world behind a uniform and a GPS screen. At night, he'd open his laptop and start typing. Business ideas, short reflections, plans for self-improvement. But he never showed them to anyone. His landlord, Mr. Reynolds, an older widower with kind eyes, would often see him returning late and say, "Son, you've got to look up once in a while. The stars won't wait forever." Ethan would just smile weakly. Inside, he felt that stars were for other people, confident people, not him. It happened on a Friday night. Ethan was delivering a package in heavy rain when a car splashed a wave of water over him. The box in his hands fell apart, the contents soaked. The customer yelled, "You ruined it, you idiot." Ethan apologized, voice shaking. He felt the old shame crawl up his spine, the familiar burn of humiliation. When he returned to his apartment, drenched and trembling, he sank to the floor. He thought of his father, a man who always said, "Confidence separates the winners from the watchers." And for the first time, Ethan whispered through tears, "Then I guess I'm just a watcher." That night, he stood by the river. The city lights shimmered on the water like promises he'd never reach. He thought, what if I just disappear? Would anyone even notice? But then a voice broke through the rain. "Don't you think it's unfair to give up before you've even tried?" Ethan turned. An older man stood beside him, holding an umbrella. His name was Harold, a retired firefighter who now spent evenings walking the riverside. Harold's tone was calm but firm. "You think you're the only one who's afraid? I used to freeze every time I heard the alarm bell. Fear doesn't go away, you just learn to move with it." Ethan didn't answer. Harold looked at him and said, "You want to change? Meet me tomorrow morning at the bridge. I'll show you something." The next morning, Ethan almost didn't go, but something in Harold's voice had felt real, not like the hollow words of motivation he'd read online. At sunrise, he found Harold standing on the bridge overlooking the river. Harold smiled. "Today's challenge: talk to 5 strangers, ask them about their day, look them in the eye, and don't break eye contact." Ethan laughed nervously. "That's not really my thing." "Exactly," Harold said. "Confidence isn't born in comfort." The first few attempts were disasters, awkward pauses, nervous laughter, short answers. But by the 5th person, a woman walking her dog, Ethan managed to hold her gaze and smile. She smiled back. It was small, but for him, it felt monumental. Over coffee afterward, Harold shared his story. He'd once been the youngest firefighter in his team, always afraid he'd fail his crew. One night, Harold said, a building collapsed with my partner inside. My legs froze. But then I realized fear and courage live in the same body. The difference is which one you feed. He looked at Ethan. You've been feeding fear too long. Ethan nodded slowly. Something inside him stirred, not confidence yet, but the faintest spark of belief. On the second day, Harold gave Ethan another task. Teach something you know. Ethan laughed. I don't know anything worth teaching. Harold pointed at his laptop bag. You told me you write marketing notes and business reflections, right? Share that. So Ethan went to a local youth center and offered to help a group of teenagers working on a school project. He showed them how to organize ideas, how to pitch a simple product. At first, his voice trembled. But when one of the students said, that actually makes sense, something inside him clicked. By the end of the session, Ethan was smiling without realizing it. He wasn't just surviving the moment, he was owning it. On the third day, Harold said, you're ready for the hardest one. Go see your father. Ethan froze. He hadn't spoken to his dad in over a year. His father had always been proud, successful, the kind of man who saw vulnerability as weakness. But Ethan went anyway. He found his father in the backyard, fixing an old car. Dad, he began, I've messed up a lot. I just wanted to say I'm trying to change. His father didn't look up right away. Then quietly he said, you know, son, when I was your age, I almost quit too. I just never told anyone. That silence, that confession, healed something Ethan didn't know was still broken. When Ethan met Harold again, he was different. Shoulders straight, eyes steady. So, Harold said, smiling, what did you learn? Ethan replied, that fear doesn't disappear, but I can walk beside it now. It's no longer steering me. Harold chuckled. Then you've already found what you were looking for. He handed Ethan a small card. On it were 6 words, be the mirror of your belief. Months later, Ethan applied for another job, this time at a creative agency. During the interview, he didn't hide behind rehearsed lines. He spoke about real challenges, his growth, the lessons from failure. The manager said, you're not like most candidates. You sound real. Ethan smiled, because I stopped pretending. 2 weeks later, he got the call. He was hired. Ethan didn't stop there. He volunteered at youth workshops, helping others overcome fear of speaking. He visited Harold weekly, sharing stories of progress. One day, Harold wasn't at the bridge. A neighbor later told Ethan that Harold had passed peacefully in his sleep. At the funeral, Ethan placed a single white flower on the casket and whispered, you built a fire in me that won't go out. That night, standing again on the same bridge, he recorded a message on his phone, the first video for his new motivational channel. Ethan's voice was steady, deep, filled with warmth. If you're watching this, maybe you're where I once was, standing at the edge, afraid to begin. I used to think confidence was something people were born with, but I've learned it's built every time you face the thing that scares you. Fear doesn't disappear when you're brave. It disappears when you move anyway. You can't wait to feel ready. The bridge won't lower itself. You have to take the step. The video ended with the city lights behind him and the words on screen, be the mirror of your belief. It went viral. Thousands commented that the story felt like their own reflection. 5 years passed. Ethan was now a respected creative director, mentoring others, giving talks about fear and confidence. One day after a conference, a young man approached him nervously and said, "Sir, your video saved my life." Ethan smiled, recognizing the same trembling voice he once had. He handed the young man a small card, the same one Harold had given him. 6 words. Be the mirror of your belief. Confidence isn't a loud voice or a perfect smile. It's the quiet courage to stand up one more time after life knocks you down. Ethan learned that the world doesn't reward perfection, it rewards persistence. He still felt fear before every presentation, every new challenge. But now, when it came, he'd smile and whisper, "Welcome back, old friend. Let's walk together." Because real strength isn't being fearless, it's believing that even with fear, you still deserve to rise. Confidence isn't found, it's built, piece by piece, through failure, patience, and courage. Don't wait for permission to start. Don't wait for fear to vanish. Take the step. Speak the word. Live your truth. Because somewhere out there, someone needs the version of you that never gave up.